Yo, what's up everybody? I want to show you guys how to make your masters loud and what are the pros and cons about it, and just wanted to cover some points of like kind of why and how to do things. So I've got this track here that I've made. It's an ID from me and I'm gonna play it. It's not so loud yet, but I hope that you guys will enjoy it for now. Playing in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. You let me. Okay, I'm gonna stop about there. Now, I want to tell you why this track looks very dynamic and why I would always mix stuff like this. And how? So, first up, let's talk about LUFS. What are LUFS? How do you use them? How do you get the understanding of what they are and what the lingo is behind them? So, LUFS stands for Loudness Units Full Scale. And what it basically is the same type of measurement as decibels. And decibels is just a number, right? So if I just say -3 decibels, it doesn't really relate to anything. It's just a scale of from 0 to -3. And this still doesn't relate to anything in the real world. It needs to have something at the end called full scale, and that gives you a perfect idea of the level difference. And in loudness units, we measure this by taking a segment of time. I think it was around 300 milliseconds or 400 milliseconds, and then averaging that amount of volume from 0 to around 1. And it would have smaller increments depending on the scale. Now, let's talk about how I use loudness units and how I mix with them and how I overall just do my music things. So, with your drops, you want your drops to be the loudest thing in your whole track. And as you can see with my track, it's very quiet at this part, right? At this very beginning part. And then after that, there's this break, and then it's very loud. And then it becomes much quieter, and then builds up to this insanely huge wave file here. And what I mean by that is very dense compared to the others. This one still has its peaks, and then this one still has all its peaks, but it's much more squished. Now, the reason that you want to still have this type of dynamic is it feels like you're getting hit in the face with a truck. at this point because it's very quiet. And you can see it in this waveform at the bottom. And then all of a sudden, it hits you here with like a truck, just smash. Now, you'll see when I play my track at this part, it'll hit around -16 LUFS. And the reason for that is that when I mix, I always have this loudness meter on my master. And then what I'll do is I'll play my whole track or just my drop. And then I'll reset now. So it resets where it was looking. And then, oh look, it's a little bit loud there. A little bit quiet. And then as soon as I have enough time, in its memory, so to say, then I'll hit auto gain, and it'll set the amount of volume for me. And the benefits of that is that you can then use this as referencing, and then it'll be much more effective to reference sounds and music at that level. So what I recommend mixing at -16 LUFS. Others will say mix at -23, and then you need to turn your audio interface up. But overall, just mix at -16, in my opinion, for dubstep. And then when you're mastering, then you can go and put this to -5 or -6 or -4, or you can even go to -12. Or you can go and use the presets to render for each individual streaming platform. And music recommended, I think, is -12 or -16. What do you know? Okay, cool. Well, yeah. And when you do this, you can effectively listen to other tracks, and it doesn't become mysterious or like mojo. You hear this kind of mojo effect, and all it is that it's well balanced on the frequency spectrum with EQs and with everything else. And then yeah, so let's get to the work part. So I'm gonna master this, and I'm gonna talk about what I did and why. So we want to hit an average of -5 because that is the standard for, quote unquote, standard for dubstep. You can go louder if you want, if your track can handle it. Now, something else I want to talk about is in span. How I have span set up is like this. Copy the presets if you want. I'll maybe put my own preset at the bottom if you want to get that. And then set it to whatever your LUFS value would be. This is very, very well calibrated for this purpose. So now I can play my drop, and then you'll see my sub hits this roof always. Oh wait. Okay, now what we can do is we can take our EQ. First up, you want to take a linear EQ and chop everything off that's at the bottom, because this can give you a lot of headroom, and then it can give you a lot of headaches if you don't do that, especially with clipping, and especially with limiting and compression. Your compressors can hear this, and it can actually still activate your compressors and your clippers, and then it will be a bad time. So doing this you can either do this with Convolver by using the EQ presets. I use the short compensated version, and then I just chop off from around 10 to 20. Don't go too high, because you'll make your sub just decrease in volume. So something else I can hear is that I want a little bit more 1K. You can even see it on the spectrum. It has has this type of dip here. And you want to try and make this, this spectrum works in a sideways angle like that. So you want to kind of, with dubstep, we have a flat region around the negative 448 at negative 5 LUFS, which is negative 5 dB. And we want to bring back some 1K because that's also your clarity. I find that brings back clarity a lot of the times. Now another thing is that I want to bring back some highs because I can hear the track isn't shimmering like what a general master would do. Now you'll see that I chopped out some of the fundamental from that snare, and the reason for that is because the fundamental of the snare is distorting the track because it's too loud. Bringing that down just a tiny bit will help make the track even louder. But now, because we've EQ'd, we need to redo that loudness because it changed the loudness, our EQing. And there we go. Now our track is more or less mastering level. Now something else I want to talk about is true peak. And true peak is something that you will generally hear from a lot of mastering engineers. And it's very important. A lot of people don't actually realize this, but when you render this to MP3, and when you actually just render it right now, it will actually clip. And you can see this inside of foobar, and that's the special reason that I love foobar so much. If I bring in, if I open a virtual riot track, I'm not gonna play it, but you'll see, because I've already scanned it. You can see that the peak is on 0, right? 1.000. And when I open a track like said MP3, why did it not? There you go. You can see the MP3 is peaking at 1.1. Now above 1 means it's peaking and clipping, and it will clip no matter what. And anything under 1 is fine. Like 0.9.8, 0.98, or anything like that is way better, because you'll retain a lot of transients, and also your track will be able to sit well in different mixing environments, and also will not distort your speakers or your converters and your audio interfaces. So let's talk about how to prevent that. At the moment that this track is hitting 1.4. Oh, before I add this. You'll see it hits positive 3.7 decibels. Now, when you render this, it's going to chop off some of that, but it's still going to be peaking on MP3s because MP3s don't really work well with that. Now, what we can do to prevent that is to use limiter number 6. And this is the only limiter that I found so far, except for like professional stuff. This is the only free one that I found that can do this. Oh, and there's also the unlimited from Sonic Anomaly. They also have a true peak, like the front. Yeah, this is a 5.1 limiter, but it also saves your true peak I recommend limiter number 6 though, because it's very clean and you can change it exactly to the number that you need. So you saw that it was 3.4 over there. Now then you would expect that we put it on 3.4 over here, but it's not. It's 0. You can put it, it's already like saving your audio just by being on 0. Now you'll hear that the track kind of, the transients get saved in a way, but also the track sounds punchier after the transients are saved, because they're not just being chopped or actually left in and distorting on your interfaces and stuff. Now, one drawback of doing this is that your track will most likely go down in volume a little bit. But the positive side is that you won't be distorting people's speakers, which I think is much more beneficial. And now, if we play this track, if we were going to render this to MP3, I would not render this to WAV and then convert it to MP3, because of the reason that that's what happened with the said track. It literally just clipped off of the top. And because MP3 has it needs a little bit of headroom, so it doesn't clip. Waves doesn't. Waves are fine, going to 0 90% of the time. Yeah. So now what we can do is we can enable oversampling for this and also for free clip, and I'll talk about oversampling later. Just know that it does make a huge difference on your loudness as well, because it saves some transients and saves a lot of detail that you otherwise would be losing if you just clipped with a low quality. Not low quality, but just lower quality. And this kind of also gives you that mastering feel. Now, generally, if you want to hit high amount of LUFS, if you want to be like Virtual Riot and hit like -3, or Zomboy that hits -3, Virtual Riot usually goes to -4. You can just target -4, play your track. It's gonna get louder, so watch out. I was wrong, but whatever. So yeah, the track overall will hit -4 LUFS if we disable limiter number 6, and also disable this -0.2 that I've set up. Now, do realize that this does have a limit. Hitting -3 is very difficult, but you can do it. You're going to be losing a lot of low mids though, because you'll find that if you want to hit -0.3, you can do it, but doing that would result in you needing to duck some of your just higher than sub frequencies, especially in the kick region. Now here it also sounds very, very dead because of that. And now if you bring down your 100 hertz around there, you'll see that it'll be fine again. So every time you go louder, You want to be ducking 100 hertz around this region, 100, 200, because that's going to be distorting your higher frequencies. And that's generally the rule of thumb for loudness. Now, again, I'm not a part of the Loudness Wars. I don't like it. I always go for -12, -6. -6 is my -5, -6. That's where I sit when I master my dubstep. Just because it retains a lot of detail, especially in like kicks and snare transients. I'll link a video at the bottom which references Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit, the 2015 version, I think it was, and the 1970 something version, or 19 whatty-whats. But yeah, generally you just want to make tracks sound good, and sounding good isn't hard. It's not difficult, but it starts at the mix. So that's why I always recommend do -16 when you're mixing. This is my general rule of thumb. -16. And have everything that you listen to be -16, and also turn down your interface volume when you're referencing, because it'll help you so much. And another thing is, you can go download all of Melda's free plugins. I'm not sponsored by them, but it's really cool, because they have this one area which shows you all of the frequencies, and this actually does help a lot. I never used this when I started mixing, but I wish I did, because I would have kept in mind a lot of the frequencies that I would be EQing, and a lot of the times you just forget which ones to really EQ and which ones not to, and which one would actually be troublesome. Another nice feature that I like about Melda is that you can use auto gain control, and then as soon as you have set your EQ, then you can play your track. So say for instance I wanted to make the highs a bit more bitey. I can add 3 decibels there, wait for a little bit, and then press set. And now it's set the gain to be the correct amount for my EQ preference. And you generally want to do that always. The only times that you should not use auto gain is when you're using filters. So, because that's going to be boosting your audio a lot. So high pass, low pass, band pass, all 3 of those. Don't use auto gain for these, because it really will explode volume wise. So yeah, that's mostly all of the stuff I wanted to cover about mastering for now. If you guys have more questions, or if you guys want different videos, please tell me in the bottom of the description, or comments. Please leave a comment, please like and subscribe. Yeah. Bye.